Today we will be discussing user access reviews. Hello, my name is KyLee Bird, Principal Sales Engineer at DataBee, a Comcast company. Today we'll discuss why user access reviews tend to be so difficult, what is needed to move beyond a manual approach, and how DataBee can simplify the process. We'll then take a look at user access reviews in DataBee with a demo. User access reviews are designed to catch when primary access controls fail. Access that needs to be pulled back if it was never needed, if someone changed roles and no longer needs what they had, or if someone left a company and their access was never revoked. User access reviews exist to confirm that access that was granted is still appropriate and approved by management. If this process is slow, manual, or doesn't cover all areas, this access can become an active attack surface. In addition to security risk, the compliance burden exists to demonstrate that access and privileges are being properly managed and reviewed regularly. In many current deployments of full IGA suites, user review depends entirely on which applications have been onboarded and connected. Great for well-established applications, but not so easy for homegrown or legacy apps. But if and when a campaign skips a legacy application, that becomes an audit gap. Along with this are disconnected systems. Identity, HR, and application data live in separate tools with no consolidated view of who has access to what. This leads to slow decision-making and lack of context. Reviewers see a list of names and applications, but have no further detail for which to base their decisions on. This results in rubber stamping rather than informed decision-making. In fact, a study by Start with Identity has noted that over 95% of access items are approved in 10 seconds or less. Rather than spending months to set up and onboard the necessary applications, some organizations rely on manual, spreadsheet-driven processes. Reviews that use exports that are stale the moment they're pulled with decisions tracked by hand. This puts a rising burden on the team. Security, IAM, and compliance staff spend cycles chasing reviewers instead of managing risk. So how do we move away from manual processes towards something that is repeatable and defensible? And what has to be true for an access review process to work at scale? There are 5 capabilities every organization needs. First, you need a consolidated view of every user application pair, and that has to include legacy systems, homegrown applications, and anything that didn't get onboarded to your IDP cleanly. Second, once you have visibility, the review itself needs context. A list of names and checkbox is not a review. To change behavior of rubber stamping, the reviewer needs risk signals, things like last login, how frequently they use the application, etc. This results in a more informed decision. Third is routing. The review has to land in front of the right person automatically, whether that's the application owner or the direct manager. Not spreadsheets emailed around, not chasing people down through Slack or Teams, not manually assigning reviewers. If a human has to decide who reviews what, a bottleneck is created. Fourth, the access denial is not the finish line. If someone says revoke this access and that decision just sits in a spreadsheet, you haven't actually reduced risk. The denial needs to become a real trackable action beyond just a report that someone has to manually translate into work. And finally, everything must be provable. Every approval, denial, and reminder needs to be timestamped, tied back to the actual identity data, and ready to hand to an auditor without spending a week to assemble. These are the baselines. Next, let's look at how DataBee handles this. DataBee automatically assembles the campaign population for you. Every user, every application, and every access relationship is pulled straight from your identity data. And if you're already using DataBee for CCM, this runs on the data you're already bringing into the platform. Entra ID, Okta, legacy systems, whatever you have connected. There are no new integration projects, no data migration, no separate identity platform to stand up. For new customers, all it takes is a few data sources and integration to your ticketing system to get started. When reviewers look at this information, they're not just looking at a name. They see last login, login count, and MFA status for the right context to make their decisions. And if someone has access to an application directly and through group membership, it's just one review item. Last is remediation. Once a campaign closes, denials become tickets in your ITSM system, routed to the team who owns the access to a ticketing system they're already working out of every day. DataBee gives you the visibility, the risk context, and the routing in a lightweight, fast-to-value workflow. So let's take a look at what this looks like in a demonstration. User access reviews are a required compliance control. Regulations from SOX, PCI, HIPAA, NIST, etc. all outline requirements around regular review. DataBee already sits at the intersection of identity data and compliance reporting. Because it's built on the identity data you're already ingesting, you already have a consolidated view of who has access to what. User access reviews closes the loop, turning that visibility into action, whether that's certifying or revoking access. Creating a campaign involves selecting the applications to include, after which DataBee takes a snapshot of current access data. In our Q3 annual access campaign, Snowflake, AWS, Okta, and GitHub are all included. Every user application pair is identified and deduplicated, regardless of whether access came directly or via a group assignment. The review items are then assigned to the user's manager for approval or denial. When scheduled, notifications are automatically sent out and reviewers provisioned. The dashboard organizes approvers under their organizational hierarchy leaders so executives can have visibility into their direct reports' review progress. From here, campaign managers can send additional notifications or reminders as needed. Under the review queue, reviewers see each employee, the application to which they have access, and how they received the access. We can see Carol, for example, has the role data engineer from both direct assignment and inheritance from the data engineering group. The application and role columns also display descriptions captured during the snapshot to give reviewers context about what each application and role provides. Reviewers also see information like last login date and time, login counts over the last 30 and 90 days, and multi-factor authentication or MFA usage for each application. That context, is this a daily user, have they logged in once, or have they never logged in, is what turns approvals into an informed decision instead of a rubber stamp. A full audit trail is maintained automatically. Approvals, denials, escalations, and reminder notifications are all logged with date, time, reviewer, and access context, giving your identity team a complete exportable trail for internal or external audit. Now let's go back to a completed campaign. Once decisions are made and the campaign is closed, denials are grouped by application and a ticket is created in the customer's existing ticketing system. This ticket then gets routed to the identity team or owning application team. In this case, we can see grouped tickets have been sent to ServiceNow for completion. Users can also leverage our AI risk flow capabilities to ask questions of their campaigns, users, and data. For example, we can ask, show me users with stale admin access. And in this case, stale to us means that they have not had a completed user access review. Risk flow will review the dataset and not only provide the answers, but also call out any key observations. So here we can see the details of the answers or the users who have admin access with no completed review. And as we scroll down in this list, we can see key observations. For example, here we can see that there are 25 admin level users who have not gone through a UAR. This includes multiple departments like security, finance, and HR. We can also see recommended actions to take based off of the observations. User access reviews uses the same data foundation as DataBee's other use cases, like continuous controls monitoring. In fact, we can tie back into CCM to report on whether the program meets internal policies. Our user access review CCM dashboard reports on whether UARs are being performed and if they're on schedule for accounts and completed by the assigned due dates. Leaders, department managers, and compliance teams can use this information to ensure that all accounts are being included in access reviews and that reviews are being completed regularly and on schedule. What we just walked through was DataBee's user access reviews, reviews without the spreadsheet chase. Consolidated visibility, informed decisions, automatic routing with closed loop all the way to remediation, and an audit-ready record at the end of every campaign. If your next access review feels like a fire drill, this is what it could look like instead. That wraps up the second episode of The Buzz, Behind the Dashboards, focused on user access reviews here at DataBee, a Comcast company. Thank you for spending this time with me, and have a wonderful day.